So the day's not over, but I'm going to fail on my Camp NaNoWriMo goal because I didn't really do Camp NaNoWriMo this year. I had plans to do it. I got really excited about doing it. And the world had other plans. And so did my brain. And I'm perfectly all right with it. And I learned a lot from failing at my own goal. And so I'd like to talk about that today on this episode of Project Shadow.
I have something to say.
Hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name's Charlie. You might know me better as sci-fi fantasy writer C.E. Dorset, and yeah, we're going to talk about failure today. A failure to keep our goals. Because one, I did, and two, I don't think we talk about failure enough, and when it's sometimes the right thing. Yeah, it is. It was the best possible outcome for this month for me, and maybe for you too if you didn't hit your goals. So, one, I don't know how many of you actually did Camp NaNoWriMo this year, but I had high hopes. I had an idea. I had a story I wanted to tell. We were in the middle of a lockdown. We run a restaurant, and that I have anxiety and depression issues, and all of that came together into a superstorm that the fact that I can still laugh, the fact that I'm sitting here today talking to you about failing at hitting a personal goal and not getting a novella written that I really wanted to have written by now, that's the biggest success that I ever could have hoped for. That's actually bigger for me than having actually gotten the story done. Because I, over the years, have learned to not be hard on myself for not hitting my goals. I have no control over my brain. When my brain does things that I don't want it to do, and I just need to take some time and get myself centered and keep myself from falling down into a precipice that is very hard to get out of, I need to do that. And I've learned that over the years. It was a very, very hard lesson to learn because I am a very ambitious person. There are a lot of things that I want to do and a lot of things I want to accomplish. And generally when I set my goals, I always set them too big. It's one of the reasons I actually set myself writing a novella, because it was a lot less words than doing NaNoWriMo, the 50,000. I was just going to do 17,000. And at the time I set the goal, I was writing between 1,000 and 2,000 words a day. And I thought to myself, well, I'll be able to do that easy. But life had other plans. Life intervened, as life often does. And I find myself sitting here today knowing that there's no way. Like, not even if I did one of those crazy, I'm going to do a 10,000 words in a day challenges, which I know from my own psyche, I probably couldn't handle that. But even if I tried doing something like that, I'm not going to get the story finished. It is not going to happen. And that's okay. Because I did the most important thing in all of this, and that's I took care of me. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you all about, in part, today. I know a lot of people are talking about self-care and everything with the current pandemic going on. But I think we as creative people have a special need for self-care, because there are many hobbies that I have that no matter how I feel, I can do them. There are video games that I can play even when I don't feel good. I can knit when I don't feel good. I have, even in the past, painted when I just didn't feel good. We all have hobbies and things that we can do that no matter what state we're in, we can still do. And because of that, we tend to think that writing should be one of those things. And it's not always one of those things. And I get really concerned, especially when I listen to a lot of other writers, because I have a very dull life. Like when I'm not, watching TV, some of the TV shows, I'm either watching AuthorTube or listening to writers' podcasts and stuff, because I do eat, drink, and breathe this stuff. Like this is, something near and dear to my heart. And yeah, so I hear a lot of people putting really high expectations on themselves and what they'll be able to do. And while I'm not concerned about burnout, because that's a whole other topic, I am concerned about people abusing themselves and not realizing they're doing it. And I think the two are related. You see, we have to learn our own rhythms. Sorry to give you the old person talk today, but Charlie's having one of those very reflective days today. So reflective that I'm talking about myself in the third person. But yeah, you have to learn your own rhythms. You have to learn not only how you work, but how you work best. And in figuring those things out, you are actually empowering yourself to get your goals accomplished. You see, if I had just tried to push through, if I had just said, nope, I have a schedule, I am going to keep my schedule, especially this month. I have done that in the past for certain projects, but I didn't this month because I knew how I was feeling. I knew those thoughts that were going through my mind. I knew that feeling on the edge of my psyche. And I was teetering at the edge of a cliff. And it has been a while since I've gotten out of my last depressive episode, and I don't want to go back there. And I know I don't have 100% say in that, because if my brain chemistry decides to take me there, then that's what's going to happen. But I do have some say. I know the things that I can and shouldn't do to keep me from going there. And so I have spent more time talking to you all. I have spent more time plotting and planning other things that I am going to be doing shortly that I'm very excited about and can't wait to talk to you about. And doing what I needed to do to keep myself up and running. Because having a less than stellar production month in April, that's okay. Getting down and not being able to do anything for the rest of the year, that's not. So, yeah. I took care of the business that I needed to take care of. And I'm not making plans right now. I promised family that I wouldn't talk about certain things, so I'm not. But let's just say there's some things going on that until they have a resolution one way or the other, basically by the end of next week, I should have some resolution one way or another. I'm not going to be able to make plans because I don't know what I'm going to have to be doing. And that randomness is life. And that's what we're all kind of suffering through right now. Because at least from the writers that I know, we write these stories, and because of that, we get it into our heads that we should have much more control over our lives than we actually have. And right now, it's important for us all to realize that, the rug's been pulled out from underneath us all. We are all in this state, in this place where we're going to have to figure things out, and we're going to have to find ways to move forward together. And that's okay. Like, we have to keep telling ourselves that. It's okay. We'll find a way. We will find a way. And not harping on ourselves for not getting done the things that we want to do. And sometimes even for not getting some of the things done that we need to do. Because honestly, if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we will never accomplish any of those other goals that we've set for ourselves. So yeah, I failed Camp NaNoWriMo this year. And I'm perfectly all right with it. I'm fine. But that doesn't mean that I'm quitting, and it doesn't mean that I've given up. That story that I'm working on, I'm still working on it. Whenever I get time, whenever my mind is in a place where I can have words come out of it. Because, well, yes, I agree with the idea that you need to show up for work, whether you feel inspired or not. And I do on a lot of occasions. But if nothing's happening, you should not torture yourself. So I've spent a lot of my time that I would normally have spent writing, planning, world building, doing those kinds of things. It's one of the reasons why I'm working on 2 projects at once right now, because sometimes it's hard to have the lighthearted whimsy that I'm wanting for the Princess Rescue Squad, and that's going to be hard to edit back in without doing massive rewrites. So I've been spending my time trying to get story done, get background done, get plans done, all of the things that I need to do on the side so that I can keep moving forward. Because every project has a lot of little tasks. And it's good to familiarize yourself with all those little tasks that you need to get done. And to push where you can push. There are some theory books and craft books that I haven't read. And so I've taken some time to do that and to apply some of those exercises to the projects that I'm working on. Because that's something that I was capable of doing, and hopefully it will actually make these stories better. That's progress. Too often, we confuse lack of momentum with lack of progress. It feels great when we're running forward, when everything's firing on all cylinders and we're getting our stories done. And we're getting them done at the rate that we want to get them done at. Yeah, that feels great. That feels wonderful. It's one of those magical things that we do. But that's not the end-all be-all of everything. That's not, in the end, what is going to get us where we want to go. Progress is what gets us there. Learning to make those relationships and reach out to the people that you need to reach out to get done the things that you need to do. Having all of the assets necessary to do that outreach. Starting to at least think about what those assets should be. And there's a lot of planning and side work, is what I like to call it, that goes along with creating a novel, or creating a series, or a novella. Whatever fiction you're doing, there's artwork that needs to be done. There are ads that need to be done. There's all manner of planning and plotting and goals that need to be set for ourselves. And so making sure that we are doing those things, that's progress. It may not feel like it because our book is still sitting there and it's partially in a partial state. And we want to see that book get finished. But as long as we're continuing to move forward, as long as we're continuing to progress towards our goals, that's all that matters. Write when you can write. But you're not going to be able to write that scene if you don't have the characters named, if you don't have some idea of where the story's going or what you want to do with it when it's done. All of those elements that seem trivial during the writing process because we don't want to think about them. We just want to write. We just want to write. We just want to write. Well, on days when you can't write, maybe you can do some of those things because it requires different skills and different energies on your part. At least it does on mine. So I've been plotting. I've been planning. I'm looking at my little brown notebook over here that has some of those plots and plans in it. And here I am on the day that I should be getting ready to celebrate having finished my novella, telling you that it's not done. It's nowhere near done. But I'm still excited. Because I look at my little brown book over there and the little black book underneath it and know that there are so many ideas in there. So much has been going on behind the scenes to keep me moving forward, to keep my progress moving forward. That I'll get there. I will eventually get to where I'm wanting to go. It may not be easy. It may be hard. There may be some tricky times between here and there, but we'll get there. Somehow we'll get there. And that's it. That's all we can do. One foot in front of the other. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a part of me that's bummed. I don't want to sound all Pollyanna, because anytime I try to do these kind of honest author chats with you all, I feel like I either come off as either too overly pessimistic or too optimistic really isn't the right word, but just, yeah, it's all good, man. The hippie part of me comes out. And no, it's not all good. There's stuff that I want to do. There are stories that I want to get out. And there is some frustration there. And it's okay. But what's more important is not to hold on to that frustration and let it overwhelm or overtake the process itself. You see, if I didn't just let that wash over me like a wave, because it happens. There are days when I'm just so frustrated that it's not getting done at the rate that I want it to get done at. But you just let it wash over you. And you let it go. And you don't hold on. You don't hold on. This is the first thing you learn when you have depressive issues. Rumination is your enemy. Anytime you sit and chew on the problem, that makes it worse. So you don't do that. You just let it go. No matter how much it feels counter to every instinct in you. Because we have, and I've talked about this on the podcast before, but we have this mistaken idea that the more we think about a thing, then we're focused on it. And the more focused we are on it, the more we're actually trying to do something about it. And that's not how any of that really works. You see, we have things that we need to do. We have things that we want to do. But sitting around and just ruminating, chewing it over and over and over again in our heads. Well, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I get that right? Why couldn't I blah, 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 blah. All that does is stick you in place. That's dropping anchor. That's not actually moving forward. And so we have to watch out for that. Especially on days like today, when, depending on whether or not you hit your goal or not, you're either congratulating yourself, which could be problematic in that you'll forget all of the things that you have to do now, or feel that withdrawal, that downer that happens after the rush of victory when you go, oh man, now I have all this stuff to do. Yeah, all that stuff is going to come. All that stuff needs to get done. You need to remind yourself. But even if you didn't make your goal, like I didn't, all that stuff still is going to get done. It's just going to be a little bit later. It's going to take a little bit more time. And when we get there, we get there. But don't get me wrong, we are going to get there. And that's all you can do. Yeah. I really want to tell you about some of the secret projects. I'm very excited about them, but I want them to be further along before I tell you. I've already told you about 2 projects that I've got in the works. Yeah, keeping busy helps. At least it helps me. Alrighty. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like to hear discussed on the show, please, down in the show notes, you'll find a link to the voice message system. Keep it short, keep it clean so I can use it on the show. I would love to hear from you. You can also hit me up on social media. I am C. Dorset on both Twitter and Instagram, and you can find links to everything that I do over at projectshadow.com. If you are fortunate and have some money you can pass my way, down in the show notes, you'll find a link to both listener support and my Patreon. Listener support is going to be waiving their fees until September to help us out. So if you are capable of helping out, that's the way to get more of your money to me. Feels so weird saying that. Thank you to everybody who does that. It really does mean the world to me, especially right now with everything going on. But if you don't have any money right now, or you don't feel like giving, that's perfectly all right. But if you do know somebody that you think would enjoy any of the work that I do, please share it with them. That helps out more than you could ever possibly know. Alrighty, I think that's it. Alright, until next time, stay well, stay safe, and don't forget to have the fun. Bye.